Hey YouTube, it's Allie, it's Monday, and I'm finally filming on my used new Sony camera. It's the exact same model that I had before, a Sony DSC-H9. And actually, Sony was going to charge me like $180 just to send in my camera and cover possibly like the minimum amount of damage. So actually got it from a refurbished company, and I only got it for 90 bucks, and it seems to be working pretty well, so I'm so thankful to have a nice camera again. And so anyway, today is the bookshelf scavenger hunt, and so I just want to get started right away. So the first book has to either have a Z in the title or in the author's name, and so this is Risa Friedman Zachary's book, Living the Creative Life, and it's just pretty much about ideas of how to manage your time and life effectively to create more work and be more productive in your art life. The next book is a classic, and so I chose Thoreau's Walden, or Life in the Woods. The next book has a key on it, Lock and Key. It is a fantastic graphic novel that is supernatural and follows the story of three kids in this house that has all kinds of keys hidden in it that do different things. And I highly recommend it. It's very dark. I wouldn't consider it like a children's comic book. The next book, or the next thing rather, is something that is not a book on your bookshelf. So hold on just a second. An Ewok lunchbox. A little knit zombie, a dinosaur, and these really cute little polymer clay little horsey, and a little hedgehog with a little sweater by Kelsey Wales, who I met at Collectors Con. The oldest book on my bookshelf was given to me by my Uncle Chuck, and it is Tennyson's collected works, and they're actually illustrated. And it's so old that this book actually doesn't have the publication date actually inside the pages, but I was able to date it from the notes were actually left inside the book, and there's actually three things that can date it. And this is such scrawled handwriting, it's hard to read, but it does say 1891 in there. And on the following page, there's another written dedication of a gift to the book to the person. It was given to November 28th, 1891. And then in the very back of the book, the owner of the book pasted in an article, like a letter to the editor about like a book review of this book, and it was actually dated 1873. So yeah, it's actually someone addressing Mr. Tennyson himself, and it's a gorgeous piece. Let me see if I can find you guys an illustrated portion in here. Here we go. The Passing of Arthur. So just wonderful, delicate. I'm really scared to touch it. That's one of my favorite old books. The next thing would have to be a book with a girl on the cover. Jane Goodall, she's my homegirl. One of her many memoirs, A Reason for Hope. And this was given to me by Miss O'Leary from high school. She was my environmental science teacher who was kind of like a mentor to me, so I really appreciate this book a lot for many reasons. Next is an animal on the cover, Jack London's collection of short stories, 13 Tales of Terror. A book with a male protagonist would be Guy Montag in Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. It is one of my favorite dystopian novels, and I love this cover very much. A book with just words on the cover. I actually have a lot of these, because apparently English majors, the books that they read aren't really suited, like they aren't printed with the aesthetically pleasing things in mind for whatever reason. So I had a lot to choose from, but I chose Beloved by Toni Morrison because it's a fantastic magical realism book. It takes place in the slave era. A mother and her three children escape a plantation where they are enslaved. They are caught, and she attempts to commit suicide as well as kill her own children so they do not have to go back. She survives as well as two of her children. The third child that did die, years later, she's free, she's living in her own home, and a woman by the same name as her daughter, who she killed, comes to the house and seeks refuge there. And so you're trying to figure out, like, is this the resurrected daughter? Is this someone who's exploiting her history and stuff? So it's fantastic. You might know Toni Morrison from The Bluest Eye. A book that is illustrated is In the Company of Crows and Ravens. And it pretty much just it's a scientific accounts of how clever and intelligent corvids are. And the artwork is beautiful inkwork. Just wonderful saturated blacks. There's no other color. but I just really like the style of the art a lot, so yes. Very interesting for nature lovers. And then a book with gold lettering on it would be Wuthering Heights, of course, by Emily Bronte, and it has beautiful covers. Everything is woodcuts, and it's illustrated as well. So let's see if I can find another page for you. So this is a really creepy looking Heathcliff, weird child demon thing. Weird. I actually picked this up at a used book sale that they have every year in Timonium at the fairgrounds. And this book is from, it's pretty early. It's like my second oldest book, like 1943. So that was a really great steal. It was like $1. And so the next thing is a diary. Take your pick. That's my entire top shelf of my own, as well as my grandmother's and some other people that I swapped with journals. An author with a common name. I actually chose editors with common names. This is the Oxford Edition's Complete Works of Shakespeare, edited by Wells and Taylor. I gave away my Norton anthology of Shakespeare after I graduated from college, and I missed it, so I went and got it for $4! $4 at Ukazoo. I think I paid like $80 for the one at Towson, the Norton anthology, so just as nice. Hardcover Shakespeare. The following book just fell on the floor, and that would be a book with the close-up of something. And I had a hard time actually finding this category. So I'm going to claim that this is a close-up of a man's face. This is The Third Life of Grange Copeland, and it's Alice Walker. She also wrote The Color Purple. And this follows the story of this one particular man's life and his journey through growing up in a racist society, being racist himself, and then coming full circle and like being accepting. And he's kind of like an anti-hero throughout most of the book until the very end, of course, because happy endings, sort of, bittersweet endings, I would argue. Very good writing. What else do we have here? We also have a book that takes place in the earliest time period. So this actually is going to double for 2 of these. Origins I read for my astronomy class, and this is pretty much just the most layman's terms explanation of the beginning of the universe, the Big Bang Theory, and actually works its way up through evolution. It's great. Like, even if you don't, just as a blue cover, even if you don't feel like you could really like comprehend like all the craziness that is science about that kind of thing, this breaks it down so simply, like a middle schooler can actually understand this book. Great introductory book. And so this also goes with a hardcover with no jacket. It didn't come with one, but it's a fantastic read, and I highly recommend it for any science lovers. A teal book would be one of my favorite authors, Sherman Alexie. He is a Native American author, and he writes primarily short stories. He's also written novels and poetry, but I like his short stories the best. And this is War Dances, and it pretty much generally his stories follow Native American protagonists, but a couple of these actually follow white protagonists, sometimes with Native American secondary characters, sometimes not. But he has such beautiful language, and it's just very clever writing. I really enjoyed it a lot. A book with stars on it. Also thought this was going to be easy, but not so much. So I chose Jeffrey Brown's Clumsy. And this is a really interesting autobiographical piece about a relationship and the breakup of Mr. Brown and his girlfriend. And I highly recommend it. He's written a lot of really cool stuff, like Vader and Son and Vader's Little Princess you might be familiar with, so really great story. And last but not least is a non-YA book, not young adult fiction. And so I tried to find the most that I found acceptable to put on YouTube. So I chose Flesh for Fantasy, which is Producing and Consuming Exotic Dance, and this is edited by Egan, Frank, and Johnson. Pretty much a collection of accounts from women in the sex trade industry, strippers, and the main author, editor person actually went to grad school, professor, and also stripped and wrote about it. Really interesting. So yes, that was my bookshelf scavenger hunt, and I'll see you guys next Monday. Bye.